Oh, welcome, Ram fans, to Swollapalooza Thursday. Trying to make this show litty. Hope you enjoyed the video to start. We're going to be doing a preview in a little bit of the Rocky Mountain Showdown. CSU traveling to Boulder to meet the CU Buffs. I hope you caught the end of the video. Actually, it's in the thumbnail too for the YouTube video for my YouTube stream. The Buffs sleeping. On the side of he was sleeping on his side. He looked like he was permanently sleeping. Rams butting heads, Buffs permanently sleeping. That might have something to do with my preview. Anyway, welcome to the show. We're gonna before we get going on the preview, and I'm gonna do a few other things as well. But before I get going on the preview, I just want to say thanks a lot for everybody's participation last night. The shows I've been doing after games, the post-game streams have been a lot of fun. I've been doing a weekly show with my friend Tom Moser, and we decided to do Mountain West opening night. We did two different games. We did San Jose State at New Mexico and Wyoming at Utah State. And of course, I attended the CSU game against Loyola Marymount, and then I did a post game show on that as well. So I just wanted to say it was a lot of fun last night. It's been a lot of fun this week. I did my Monday morning show with Brady, with assistant coach Ken DeWeese, who has been a great addition to the staff. We had a great chat with him and learning more about Ken and what he brings to the table. And I got to tell you, I went to practice on Monday, and I saw Ken going to work. He did some things post practice with Keyshawn Williams, showing him video. Ken does a lot of that. Did a lot of the drills with the rebounding. And if you've seen the last few games, the improved rebounding by CSU, so he's making a big contribution. He's fitting into the staff nicely, along with Ali and Brian and Tim. Joe Deciman. It's a crack group of people, and Ken's doing great. But last night, we did really, really well. We reached out, and we're really trying to, I've talked about building the community, and it's getting there by going to X, not just on YouTube anymore, but by going live on X. It increases the ability to reach people. I like that you subscribe to me on YouTube, but if all you have to do is follow me on X, and the videos show up, my streams show up live on X, and that's expanded the base. And the show with Tom last night, the post game stream, we got up to right around 250 people watching toward the end of it. And that's a significant number. That's all you can go around. It doesn't sound like much. I'm not Joe Rogan, nor do I ever expect to be. But the idea of building a community, building not just our CSU community, but building a Mountain West community. We did really, really well. We had a lot of fun last night. Had a lot of people participating from other schools, San Jose State, New Mexico, Utah State. Wyoming fans were popping in, and it was good. We had a lot of great discussions, a lot of fun with Tom. He's become very popular as the top podcaster in terms of coverage of Mountain West basketball, doing at least a weekly podcast, and we're really having fun doing that show. And we'll do that on a weekly basis, and maybe a little more than weekly once the Mountain West season gets going. And then I did the post-game CSU stream by myself. I've been bringing on guests. I just decided to do it last night by myself. I have a lot more fun when I bring on co-hosts, but it just didn't fly last night for me. I do have to apologize to people, though. I made a rookie mistake last night. I set it up as two separate streams. And there I had everybody, including CSU fans, watching the Mountain West stream. And lo and behold, I chopped it off and then started up my CSU stream. And I dropped a lot of people, and I lost a lot of CSU people that were watching the very first part. And I don't know if they didn't know I was coming out with a second stream or if they thought I was done. Regardless, that was a rookie mistake. all I had to do was change the graphics. I could have gone to my final score graphics, and we could have had fun and maybe a bigger audience. It turned out it was a good show anyway. I still had about 100 people for the CSU post game, which is a nice audience. People participating. If you're out there with comments, you got questions for me today, fire them at me. We're going to roll pretty quickly to the topic of the CSU CU preview. But the one thing I want you to fire at me, if you want, there have been a lot of memorable games in the last few years with between CU and CSU. If you've got a favorite game, fire it at me and let's bring it up. There may be a reward before the end of the night. I kind of hinted at something. On a tweet earlier. My wife won't be going to the game on Saturday. I have 2 seats for Saturday. My wife is mad at me because it's our anniversary. We'll be celebrating our anniversary tomorrow night, but she won't be going. Her back is bothering her after surgery a couple of months ago, and she just doesn't do really well in these seats that you sit in a basketball arena. So it looks like I have an extra seat, and it's a good seat. The good news is it would be free. I will give it to somebody. We'll award it to somebody before this show ends. So I want you all to participate. Let me know whoever comes up with maybe the best remembrance of a great CSU CU game. It could even be last year's game, but we'll decide before the end of the show, and I'll figure out a way to get a ticket to you. The good news is the ticket comes to you free. The bad news is you're going to have to sit next to me, and I can be pretty obnoxious. So with that in mind, here's another thing. Just if you want, subscribe to the YouTube channel, Crackers College Hoops. But send your ideas if you have ideas for shows. I've talked about this. I do shows based on what people feed back to me. And it's been a lot of fun working with people on some of these ideas. So feel free to shoot me some ideas and thoughts. Share some ideas with me. So let's move on. CSU visiting Bowdah on Saturday, 6 p.m. Mountain Time. 2 teams that are very, very equal in terms of how the computers view them. CU, I believe, is 6-2. CSU 5-3. CU has a win over last year's national champion UConn at the Maui Invitational. They also dropped 2 other games against top teams, big program Michigan State, and then they dropped a game to Iowa State by about 26 points. Iowa State is a top 10 team featuring former assistant coach from CSU, J.R. Blunt. We're happy for JR to get a 26-point win over CU. That would be fun to do the same thing on Saturday with Nico and his crew. I don't know if that's necessarily in the cards, but let's CSU coming off of back-to-back wins, playing maybe their best game last night. I thought they played really well in Palm Springs with a loss to Washington, a game they could have won very easily. Followed that up with a nice win over TCU, who is rated about the same as CU in the computers. And then a nice win last night over Loyola Marymount, a team that I don't know. I don't think they're as bad as they looked last night. They beat Wyoming by 3 last week. They beat Wyoming by the same amount as Utah State beat them last night. So maybe they're decent. Maybe they had an off night. Maybe CSU was on fire. But the good news is the Rams got to feel pretty good about coming into the game on Saturday. Let me bring up this. I'm going to bring up my Ken Palm matchups, and let's expand this a little bit. I don't know why that's so small. You don't need to see me very big. I'm a little guy in the corner. Let me click off this banner so you can see it a little easier. Anyway, these are the matchups, and if you look at the thing here, very, very similar teams in terms of offensive and defensive efficiency. Basically, CSU 107.2 offensive efficiency. That basically means they score about 1.07 points per possession. Colorado's offense, 108.7, just a little bit more efficient, both ranked outside of the top 100, but decent offenses, certainly top third in college basketball. Both teams are good defensive teams, top 100 defensive teams. Colorado basically allowing 1 point possession, 1 point per possession. CSU just a tad less. Colorado ranked 81st in the country. CSU ranked 73rd in the country. So you're not looking at huge differences in between these teams. I'm going to point out a couple of key things just in terms of shooting. You know, CSU has had a reputation for a long time in terms of being a very, very good shooting team. And this year's team is not shooting anywhere near as good as previous teams. Effective field goal percentage, 123rd in the country, and 3-point percentage down around 31%. Of course, we saw them light it up against Loyola Marymount, shooting about 39% with a lot of made threes. They took a lot of 3-point shots, and they made, I believe, 14 of them. I think they shot 14 for 36. 2-point percentage, always good, 56.5. But you know, the one thing that I'll address this in a little bit, CSU's points in the past, a lot of them have come inside the paint, were really the percentage of the points, the distribution of the points is really spread pretty equally between twos and threes. CSU is shooting a few more threes than normal. You can see 43.7% of their shots are 3-point shots. They typically would run less than 40% in previous years on that. Colorado is a pretty good shooting team. You can see their effective field goal shooting percentage is 84, but it's really led by the fact that they shoot threes really, really well. They don't shoot a lot of them, but they make them. They're making 40% of their threes, 13th in the country. The other thing they do is they get to the free throw line. Free throws attempted per field goals attempted, 46 in the country. A large number of their points come from free throws. Basically, 22, almost 23% of their points come from free throws. CSU only 16%. So what does that say? It says CU is good at getting to the line. CSU has got to figure out a way to defend without fouling. It could be a parade to the free throw line with the way CU plays. The 3-point shooters for CU tend to be their guards, but they do have a couple of bigs, a 3 and a 4-man that can shoot threes as well, and they will make them. They'll shoot them in a neighborhood of a 40% clip. In terms of the other thing I wanted to point out, CU is a very big, very tall team. They're not wide. They don't possess a lot of girth, but they are a very tall team in terms of average height, 78.9 inches. That's for you guys that aren't math majors. That's 6.9. That's basically averaging 6'7" for their teams that they put on the floor. 8th tallest in the country. CSU down about the middle of the pack, 211th in the country, averaging about 6'5". In terms of the lineup that CO put out there, 6'2" point guard Julian Hammond. They have a big center in Elijah Malone, who goes 6'10" and about 260 pounds. He's a transfer from an NAIA school in Indiana. Trevor Baskin, kid out of Mesa State, out of Colorado, 6'9", slender, about 200 pounds. But he came out of the portal to play a year at CU. CSU was very interested in him, and he chose CU. So maybe that was a good decision. Maybe it wasn't a good decision. Anyway, he's actually starting to come on. Jakomowski, transfer from Washington State, 6'8", about 220, probably their best player. He's more of a catch and shoot 3 guy. He likes to put the ball on the floor and go to the basket. Not a guy who's going to make a lot of plays for other people, but he is a very, very good finisher. And then there's a bunch of other players, tall and skinny. I like to point to these, the Bangat Dak and Asan Diop. Diop, 6'8", about 200 pounds. Bangat Dak, 6'11". I think he goes about 190. skinny ankles, skinny legs, not a lot of width, but a lot of length. So very tall, but not maybe as big and as bulky as CSU. It will be interesting to see in terms of physical battle. We'll see if Rashawn Mbemba is healthy. He came back in the game on yesterday, but he injured himself. He's got a recurring hip issue, and he injured himself early in the second half against Loyola Marymount. Came back and played a few minutes, but CSU needs to get 20 minutes out of him, and they're going to need his width, especially in defending this Malone kid, who is very big, very strong around the basket. So that's kind of the lineups. That's kind of the, I see it as a very, very even matchup. I see CU taller. I see CSU maybe a little scrappier, a little wider, a little more of a physical team. And I don't want to say CU isn't a physical team, but CSU when they're on their game is very, very good at creating turnovers. Colorado, I want to point to this. Colorado has had issues with turnovers. They got a little better in their last game, but they really, really have struggled with turnovers this year. And CSU has been pretty good at creating turnovers. So that's something to look at. I haven't mentioned one of the great matchups, or one of the interesting things in this particular game, and that is, of course, the best player on the floor will be Nick Clifford, who started his career at CU, played 3 years there, decided to transfer, came to CSU last year, really elevated his game, found a system that really exploited his skills, and now he's the team leader. And he will be the best player on the floor. There were some things out there on social media today, people showing projected first-round draft picks. Nick Clifford showed up as number 18 in the first round. These are early, these are preliminary, but he's certainly showing his ability to play, to score, averaging about 18 or 19 points a game this year. Rebounding, he's about 11 or 12 rebounds a game. He is the number one rebounder in the country from the small forward position. I'm not going to pull up the Ken Palm numbers, but he's number one, period. He's far and away one of the top rebounders in the country in terms of rebounding percentage, but he rebounds his position better than anybody else. He's obviously shooting close to 40% on his 3-point shots. Free throws only about 65%. 2-point shots about 60 or 65%. He's become an offensive machine. What'll be interesting to see is how CU defends him. I think that it will be. I'm really more interested. I'll get into that in a little bit about how I think they might try and defend Neek. But last time CSU played at CU 2 years ago, CU had a good team. They were better than CSU. It should have been a semi-competitive game, and it wasn't. It was an 8-point game at halftime, and CU ended up blasting the Rams out of the gym, outscoring them. I think it was 55-35 in the second half, and it wasn't a pretty sight. That was when Isaiah Stevens was just coming back, and he was still playing on one leg. But one thing CU has always tried to do is anytime there's any kind of screening action at the top, CU likes to blitz that screen and throw a double team and slap a double team and try and create a little chaos. 2 years ago, it really worked, and Zay had a lot of trouble. He was not 100%, and they turned him over a bunch and created a lot of easy hoops, especially in that second half. And so I wouldn't be surprised to see them do that to Casey Evans. So what you might see, we'll see how CSU adjusts to that. We might see a little more of Neek working up top. He has the height and the length to beat those those blitzing double teams that CU likes to run to get the ball out of people's hands and get the ball flying around. So I think that I don't. So if you're Tad Boyle, what do? You play people. You run your defense the way you like to run it. You don't do it necessarily based on the personnel. And I don't think he's worried about being embarrassed by Neek Clifford. I think Neek wants to have a big game. Neek wants to lead his team. He has won the last two of these games. He played on the winning side in Bowdah 2 years ago, and he played on the winning side at CSU last year in Moby Arena, and he had a good game against CSU 2 years ago. So we'll see what Boyle does. I'm guessing that it's going to it'll take a team effort from CSU. Like I said, they're going to have to be very, very physical in the paint. They're going to have to be very, very stout defensively, basically forcing CU, taking away the open three-pointers. They will run a lot of screening actions and then trying to get CSU to maybe rotate a little bit and get them maybe catching them late in rotations and shooting open threes. They're really good at that. But we'll see if CSU can defend can defend in a way where they don't foul, and maybe they'll figure out a way to keep CU keep them at bay. I keep them at bay. I shouldn't say maybe. I honestly believe that's what's gonna happen. I like CSU's chances in this game. I really do. I just think that I've watched CU play a little bit. They've struggled a little bit. They obviously have that really good win over UConn, but they've struggled. They got killed by Iowa State. They got beat by double digits by Michigan State. They've been behind to a lot of not so good teams at home and then cracked them pretty hard in the second half. And they do it. They play 10 guys pretty regularly, or play 10 guys double-digit minutes. That's and they use their bench. Boyle uses his bench really, really well. But that's something that interestingly enough, they're playing teams that aren't used to playing at elevation when they're doing that. The team that they really struggled most with at home was Northern Colorado. Surprise, surprise, somebody who plays at elevation. They beat UNC in double overtime, 90-88. It was a good game, back and forth. But bottom line is Northern Colorado stayed with CU. These other teams, I can't remember if it was, Eastern Washington had CU down at the half. Pacific, very weak West Coast Conference program, about 280 in the Ken Palm, had CU by 9 at halftime. So we'll see what happens in terms of slow starts for CU. I don't think depth and elevation is going to cause CSU any problems. CSU has a pretty solid 9-man rotation. We saw it yesterday. We saw what happens when we have a starting lineup with two bigs, with Mbemba and Crocker Johnson, a bench group that you can move, have Clifford with that has Jorgensen, Morton, Bourne, and Keyshawn Williams, and all of those guys are good players off the bench. Kyle Jorgensen, the freshman big, only had 3 points last night, but he had I think 3 key rebounds. He had a really nice block shot as well. He's learning how to defend the paint a little better. We're going to need that. Ethan Morton, great defensive game, great rebounding game. And then Bowen Bourne and Keyshawn Williams, both of whom made threes, both of whom scored pull-ups in the paint. Keyshawn also had a layup at the rim. So anyway, that's I'm having issues, by the way. Let me see if I can. Got to get that out of there. I don't know why. I'm not seeing. If anybody's trying to live chat, I am not seeing the live chat. Something has happened here. And I'm going to stop sharing that and go here. And there we go. There's a comment finally. TCU just helped out CSU's net and KenPom by beating a good Xavier team tonight. You know, I was watching that game, Lee, and TCU was down, I think, 6 points with about 8 minutes to go, and I was hoping that's actually really, really good that happened. You know, in terms of the net rankings, I was laughing. You know, 2 days ago, CSU was down around 208 in the net rankings, and within 2 days they moved up to 139. The first day was Ole Miss beating Louisville at Louisville by about 25 points, and that moved CSU up from about 209 to about 180. So about almost 30 spots because somebody else had a 25-point win. That's the kind of stuff that happens early in the season. And then last night, CSU gained about 40 spots with their 29-point win over Loyola Marymount. So they've moved up 70 spots in the net rankings. And I was joking the other day with somebody, you know, if you can move up 30 spots by not playing, how about just don't play for a week and next thing you know, you're number one in the country, you know, 7 times through a 30, 210. So they would have gotten there. Here we go. Lee, great comment. Bench with Bourne and Williams will need good games. You know, one of the things that I do want to bring up, CU's guards are a little bigger than ours. Julian Hammond, 6'2", 6'3", about 195, built pretty well, pretty stout. And then the other kid that plays 6'5", about 190, 185. And then they have a backup guard that's 6'3" at about 180. When we played TCU, we played really, really well. And then in the second half, TCU came out with their guards, and they were a little older, a little more mature, a little bigger, and they tried to play bully ball with us, and it worked for about 10 minutes. They kind of pushed Kyan Evans around. They pushed Bowen around a little bit. They pushed Keyshawn around a little bit. And so what we saw was in the second 10 minutes of that half, CSU really adjusted very, very well. And it was good to see where they got they took away the bully ball, stopped sending TCU to the free throw line, and that basically fueled CSU's comeback and then CSU's 6-point overtime win against TCU, which was a very, very good win. TCU is a good team. They're right on the edge of being an NCAA tournament team. Ole Miss, you know, they blew us out. They beat Louisville by 25. Ole Miss beat us by 15, and we were down in the 20s and actually won the second half against them. But that's going to be the best team we're going to play in the non-conference, and maybe the best team we're going to play all year. Ole Miss is right now about 20th in all the computer rankings, whether it's net or KenPom. They're right up there in an SEC that has, I think, 6 of the top 10 teams. It's an unbelievable league. So, oh, look at this. Wenzel down the stretch. He missed one against us late that helped us out. If you watched my lead, I don't know if anybody watched I know some of you watched the show we did with Ken DeWeese. I asked him specifically about Brendan Wenzel, and Ken's been a Texas recruiter, very strong recruiter out of Texas. That's where Wenzel's from, and Ken recruited Wenzel to UNC. He ended up going to UTEP. And then when there was a coaching change at UTEP, Wenzel ended up at Utah and went for a year at Utah, really didn't get much playing time. And Ken was the one that brought him to Wyoming, and he had 3 really good years in Wyoming. And the guy is a 6'5" sharpshooter, fit really, really well in that Wyoming offense. Had some big buckets against CSU last year in Moby Arena. But that's cool to see that one of Ken's recruits, one of those, what goes around comes around. Ken got to recruit him, got to bring him into Wyoming and then face him when Ken was at CSU. And Brendan was at TCU. I think that's isn't that how college basketball works nowadays? Anyway, let me get to my pick. I really like CSU in this game. Ken Palm has this game as 72-67 CU. That would basically be 3 points for home court advantage and 2 points for they would have CU as 2 points better than CSU. I think it's going to switch a little bit the other way, and I'm looking at 69-66 CSU. I think it's going to be a battle. I think it's going to be a really, really good game, but I think in the end, the Rams come out on top. So I'm really, really excited about that. Any other comments? Any other thoughts on what you might see on Saturday night? Any of you guys, any people watching going to the game? Let me know. Shoot your comments through. That would be good. But it should be a good game. I will be there. I will be doing a post-game stream as well. And it won't happen until about 10 o'clock, sometime between 9:30 and 10. The game starts at 6 o'clock. Should be over by 8. I figure get things, talk to a few people in the gym, get out of there maybe 8:30, be home by about 9:30. So I'll be looking to get on about 9:30, but it may be sometime between 9:30 and 10. So I'm going to make sure I invite all of you to stop by on Saturday night and celebrate. And then I will tell you that Monday morning with my show with Brady, I promise you a really, really, really good player as our guest on Monday morning. It's a person that told me he has a 9 o'clock class, but he will be on from 8:05 to 8:25 with me and Brady. I'm counting on him having a big game on Saturday. I'm counting on him winning another Rocky Mountain Showdown, ending his career with 3 straight. I'm talking about none other than Neek Clifford. If all goes well, we will have Neek on the show on Monday morning. He regularly appears with Brady and the Crazy Carl Pizza Hour with Brady, usually on a Wednesday or a Thursday. But Neek's going to come on with me and Brady on Monday morning. Win or lose, but I'll tell you what, you know which way this is going to go. This is going to be a win. Am I guaranteeing it? I'm going to do a Brady Hall. I'm guaranteeing it. I'm going out on a limb. I say Nico gets the best of Tad Boyle. I'm saying Neek Clifford has a big game, and I'm saying that the experience of the bench, the scoring, like Lee said, with the need to have maybe some good games out of Bourne and Williams, but I'm looking to have a big game out of the CSU bigs as well. I think they're going to score inside. I don't think CSU is a very, very strong inside interior defensive team other than with their length. I think CSU's motion, their screening, I think that's going to give a very inexperienced CU team a lot of problems. I didn't mention the one thing about CU. They lost their top 6 players. We lost a lot of good players at CSU, but the top 6 did not come back to CU this year. 3 went to the NBA, 3 went to the portal. So Tad's been dealing with a new team, and they're pretty good. I'm not going to say they aren't good, but they're going to be struggle in the Big 12 in a real super conference because of their youth, because their physical immaturity, even though they're very, very tall. So I'm looking for CU to maybe go home sad. Anyway, that's it. Let me know your thoughts. If you have any comments, like I said, feel free to shoot me some ideas for shows in the future. Oh, here we go. One last comment from Lee. Lee, thank you so much for participating. I wish other people would participate. I love the comments. That's the whole idea of building this community. This isn't my show. This is our show. This is my channel. This is our show. This is this is our community, and I like that. So thank you for commenting. VCU with ex-Aggie Shulga, possibly quad 1 Next week will be really, really interesting. I was going to go to that game, and my wife and I decided we'd take it easy between Thanksgiving and Christmas. But CSU will play VCU in Las Vegas, actually in Henderson, Nevada, on December 14th. And then VCU on their way home stops off in New Mexico to play the Lobos in the pit. So that'll be an interesting two games. We'll get a pretty good feel for how we might stack up with a comparable opponent, VCU, between New Mexico and CSU. Of course, neutral versus the pit, a little different, but you guys might not be aware. Our opening Mountain West game will be with Nevada at Nevada on, I want to say the 21st. I believe it's right before Christmas. First home game in the Mountain West is December 28th with New Mexico. So we open with two of the top teams right out of the chute. And so it'll be nice to see and get a good feel for how we stack up versus New Mexico via that VCU matchup. So here we go. I like that. I got 69-66. You've got 75-71. I'll tell you what, I like that. I like the way you're thinking, Lee. So anyway, everybody, I am going to call it a night. I have actually been feeling a little under the weather. I was going to try and get this done a little quicker, but I talked a little bit too much. I apologize. I will see you at the game. If you're going to the game, I will see you at the game. Let's have fun. And then please join me for the post game. I have a really, really good feeling we're going to want to get together for the post game. That'll be about 9:30 or 10 o'clock at night on Saturday. Anyway, thanks everybody for watching. Have a great evening. Go Rams.